Well, a Melbourne inner city council has been caught up in the Indigenous land boundary changes and is honouring the incorrect traditional landowners at its NAIDOC Week events. Joining us to unravel this latest bit of lefty lunacy is Stonnington Councillor Alexander Lew, representing Malvern, East Malvern and Glen Iris. Alexander, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Rowan. How are you?
Good. Well, you asked some pertinent questions the other day. We'll show a clip of that in a second. But just tell us this story. How on earth did your council end up honouring the wrong traditional custodians or whatever? The wrong smoking ceremony, the wrong people? How did that all happen?
Well, Rowan, Aboriginal people make up about 0.25% of the population of Stonnington. And let me say they're a very respected, valued 0.25% of our population. Our council has been, like others on our council, I think what they really want us to be focusing on is roads, rates, rubbish, libraries, those types of issues. Now, there's been a recent decision by the Victorian Aboriginal Heritage Council, which has resolved a dispute as to who the traditional owners of Stonnington are. And our council had gone ahead and organised the wrong traditional owners to open events for NAIDOC Week, and unfortunately, not wanting to offend them, we didn't cancel them, so we went ahead and did our NAIDOC Week events with the not properly recognised traditional owners. Going forward, though, we will be using the correct traditional owners.
So here's a little clip from the meeting after you asked your question the other day. Alex, just have a look at this.
We were not aware that a decision was going to be made so quickly, so we had organised the Boonwurrung elders to participate in opening this a number of this week's events. We think to be respectful and not cancelling at such late notice. What we have done is to change the reconciliation statement that looks at we acknowledge we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Kulin Nations.
I mean, sorry, this to me is just lunacy. I mean, first of all, how is this established anyway? And of course, it's great to pay respects, but seriously, if you're respecting one mob, you're disrespecting the other, aren't you? Rita?
Well, what I don't understand is if you are going to go ahead with this acknowledgement, once you realised it was the wrong group you were acknowledging, surely, regardless of whether it might be impolite to cancel at the last moment and book the correct people, I mean, how did you go ahead with the incorrect acknowledgement, knowing it was incorrect?
Well, Rita, I'm not sure that many of my colleagues on Stonnington Council are actually that devoted to the Indigenous issue, full stop. I think it's something that they use to promote their own image and to look good with their Greens Party colleagues. But if you scratch the surface, there's not that much care or concern, I don't believe, for the real issues that are affecting Indigenous people from Stonnington Council.
Alex, I'll just jump in there. Alex, I'll just jump in there because I've just got a clip of the mayor, and it appears, I think you're right here, that there might be a little bit of virtue signalling going on here, because it strikes me, listen carefully, the mayor doesn't actually even seem to know that Torres Strait Islanders are Torres Strait Islanders. She thinks they're Torres Strait Islanders. Have a quick listen.
Thank you, Janet, for your welcome to country. NAIDOC Week celebrations are held each July as a time for Australians to come together to celebrate the rich history, diverse cultures and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.
James, am I being unfair here? I mean, unless there's another island group called the Torres Strait Islanders. Are you aware of this? Do you think there's some virtue signalling going on here, James?
I don't know, Ron.
Am I being unfair?
I don't know. There may be some islands called the Torres Islands. Perhaps the Chinese Navy is taking them over right now as we speak. I'm not even sure. But I want to ask you, Councillor, how much time and how much money has been spent by Council doing this? Because this seems to me, we see this here in Sydney all the time, and frankly, I see this all over the country where we have good councillors, people who want to be involved with the mechanics of politics and representing their local residents to get things happening in their local area, and instead they get sidetracked by issues like this run by councillors who think they should be, think it's not interesting enough for them what they're doing and they want to do something else. How much time and effort has been wasted on this whole dispute over it's whether this group or that group? And what does that do? And what is the message that it tells to ratepayers about, what priorities are of council?
Sure. Well, James, let me just say it's not all councillors. It's not me. There's another councillor at Stonnington, Councillor Marcia Griffin, who is also very solid on these issues. So it's definitely not all councillors. Council in Victoria is a $11 billion industry, and to pay for this agenda, generally every year council puts up rates. We've been through 4 lockdowns in Victoria, and our council, the majority of our councillors, decided that they would vote to put up rates by 3.5%, which was the maximum allowable under Victorian law. And because we've had such variation in property prices, it's really hit low to middle income earners the hardest. Homeowners in Windsor, they've seen their rates go up by, on average, 8%. Apartment owners in Armidale have also seen their rates go up on average by 8%. So we've got these councillors who are interested in promoting an agenda, and they just keep putting rates up to get more and more money to be able to pursue this particular agenda. And whether it's Indigenous issues, climate change, LGBTI, it's not focusing on what local government should be focusing on, which is delivering great libraries, great swimming pools, taking your bins out properly, and picking up your rubbish, making sure that you don't have cracks on your footpath. That's what people want their local government to be
Alexander
focusing on.
Lew, thanks so much for coming on. Listen, I hope next time they get the right people. If they're going to virtue signal, at least try virtue signalling to the right gang. And meantime, I wonder how those who've been dispossessed from, they thought they owned the area, they were the traditional custodians, now they're not. Maybe they could go claim 18C privilege or something like that. Alexander Lew, thanks so much for coming on.